Good evening, YouTube. You guys are now watching another segment of the TheCaliEffect King of Games, and today we're going to be going over the OCG Forbidden List and the implications it has to the OCG. But even a little bit more, we're going to be telling you guys why it is better to be a TCG player, and on top of that, what implications will the OCG list have to our TCG list that is impending. Alright, before we get into the other logistics of this video, I think we should start by talking about the OCG ban list itself. Banned is Masterpiece and Dragonic Diagram in the OCG. Spirals have been doing pretty decent, but with True Draco out of the way, which was the best deck of the format for them, we can start to see a trend of Spirals. I mean, literally, they have the driver's seat right now. I don't think there was a single card that was hit from Spirals, so they are going to be that deck to beat, that and Magic Bullets. As you can see, the newly limited cards, I'm pretty excited that those were the only two cards that were forbidden for the OCG, by the way. Tribe Infecting Virus, after 12 years, has finally came off the list. I don't know if it's for an errata. I don't think it's an errata, or we'd find out down below. But as it seems, Tribe Infected Virus has came completely off the list. No errata. This will help Mermails tremendously, or at least I would think, discarding cards like Atlantean Dragoons to give a board wipe and a search. I just felt that this was probably the best thing that Mermails could have. Aliester, the Invoker 2/1, has that's a huge hit to Invoked. Seeing that Terraforming is at 1 on this list as well, searching your magical meltdowns won't be as easy, and Spellbook of Secrets to 1, being able to recycle your Spellbook Ruja is not going to be fun. So this deck, I really want to say you got to put it in wraps right now. It's not really going to be that successful. Next is Dynamite. This card is hit to 1 up. I do agree, this is probably one of the strongest cards outside of Masterpiece. We've actually been seeing quite a few True Draco builds topping with one, what's that card name? The Masterpiece, my apologies. Topping with one copy of Masterpiece, and this card and Ignis are really good cards for the True Draco strategy, so hitting this card with 1 will ensure that True Draco is dead. Next on the Forbidden List is the Dino Engine. Now, I think that Kamani was really smart for hitting these two cards for said reasons. This means that they don't necessarily have to hit it in the OC or in the TCG. If you guys go to Worlds, Dinos did win Worlds, but Dinos possibly could never win Worlds again with Diagram being banned, you know, Overraptor to 1, and Baby Saris to 1. So I don't really see that happening, especially with the Terraforming to 1 that Dinos will ever admit. This means that they don't have to hit Dinos in the TCG immediately, especially since it isn't doing much, but who knows? We're going to talk about that a little later. ABC Buster Dragon to 1. I feel like that was a hit just to move all of the older product out of the way and nothing more. Buster Dragon isn't necessarily an overly busted card, and if it was, it should have been addressed a long time ago, but wasn't. Danglong to 1. This is just a further hit, not necessarily to Yang Zings, unfortunately, but to the Yang Zing Dino strategy. And then, of course, more True Draco cards inside of Disciples Return being hit to 1. So that's just pretty nasty right there for True Draco. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards hit on the list at one time simultaneously. I think that this will effectively kill the deck right here for the OCG. And then Trickstar Reincarnation to 1. To be honest with you guys, I think that this was just a pretty bad design card. Not necessarily that you banish your opponent's hand and then they draw cards. It's because it's interaction with Joel and Lockbird. But I felt that that's the reason why they hit it. But also another reason could be, like I said, to move new product and see how the newer product works as opposed to the older product. That's pretty much it for the limited to 1. For the semi-limited, Maxi actually goes from 3 to 2. So good job, Kamani, I think that they're really trying to find a balance with Maxi and using the OCG to try to find that balance. The balance should be 0, Kamani. 0. 0 is the balance. Make better cards. Next is Wind Witch Ice Bell. This being hit to 2 by itself doesn't really do much. But when you look at Aliester, the Invoke, the Spellbook Secrets being hit to 1, this kind of, you know, it punches the deck in the dick. I don't think it's like a terrible hit. It's still going to be a pretty good card on its own right. This with the Wind Witch Engine, but you got to be a little bit careful with it since you don't have 3 copies of Ice Bell. Summoner Monk to 2. I'm not 100% sure if Summoner Monk was at 1 or 3 in the OCG, but I do know it's at 2 now, and that's interesting because from what we have seen, Summoner Monk hasn't really been making any waves, but I am assuming it's probably because some super stupid engine that's about to come out very soon, making Summoner Monk busted. And then the card of the hour is Pot of Avarice to 2. Now, this card is fucking dangerous. I mean, it even has the Hitler mustache. So I don't know what to say about Pot of Avarice to 2. I thought Pot of Avarice was probably one of the most busted cards in Yu-Gi-Oh, especially back when it was in the Synchro format, shuffling 5 of your cards, which is automatically 3 Lone Fire Blossoms, a Dandelion, and then, you know, your next card to draw 2 cards was just insane, and they're gonna have 2 copies. So I'm really excited to see what Pot of Avarice does to the format. I think it's just gonna make a lot of things even more busted. It's gonna make links less playable or more playable, because now you don't have to, you know, cram your extra deck with a whole bunch of links just in case somebody hits all of them. If your links decide to go to the graveyard, just Pot of Avarice them back. This also, like, if this card does come out, it does hit Mega Zaborg, the Mega Zaborg Turbo that you guys have seen earlier. Future Fusion to 2. In all honesty, with the new errata, I feel like this card can come to 3. It's just not as problematic as it was before. I think there was a good errata to the card. And then another kick in the dick, 2 dinos, which is Fossil Dig 2/2. I don't understand why they, you know, continuously kick cards in the deck that are already there. I mean, like, Soul Eater, Overraptor, and, you know, Baby Saris with the Terraforming and the Diagram with the Danglong, all banned in 1 respectively was enough. But no, let's kick him in the dick and hit, you know, Fossil Dig 2/2. So, you know, that's interesting enough. I guess they really want to make sure it's dead, but you could have put this card to 1 if you really wanted to make sure it's dead. Newly Unlimited. So Unlimited is very interesting in this aspect. Performing about Pendulum Sorcerer finally comes off the list for the OCG, as well as Witch of the Black Forest. I mean, come on, let's be honest. This card's trash. I mean, this card could go to 8. Nobody would really give a shit, you know, with the new errata. And then Skarn to 3 is going to be very interesting, seeing that we do have new Burning Abyss cards coming out inside of a Link monster that's pretty busted. Rescue Cat 2 to 3. Oh my fucking god, I love the OCG. So Rescue Cat the 3 with the new errata is going to be really looking good with Summoner Monk. It kind of, oh, and Pot of Avarice, bro! Makes you want to move over to the OCG just so you can play Synchro Cat. If anybody know what Synchro Cat is, it's probably one of my most favorite decks of all time. And they have all the ingredients with Summoner Monk to 2, Pot of Avarice to 2, and Rescue Cat. So that's pretty cool. I don't think it's going to be good. It's just really cool. 2 copies of Barrel from a Different Dimension. Really good card for Infernoids. There's a couple of Mizukis. You know, I think this card is just really nutty. And then, well, I'm sorry, it's actually to 3, so that's even more busted. And then Tenki to 3 is really interesting as well. Preparation of Rites to 3. I think that Necroz is going to have some type of support to come out that's going to completely bust Preparation of Rites again. Cleafort, I forgot what Reclip, whatever this Cleafort equipped spell card is, to 3. This card's really good for Cleafort. It's giving a monster 400 attack. Is it 400 attack? Yes, I'm pretty sure it's 400 attack. I don't remember. Oh, it's 300 attack. And then preventing it to be undestroyed by battle. And then when it's sent to the graveyard, the most important part is that it searches. So Pendulums do get a very big boost inside of that with the Wavering Eyes to 3. I think that everybody is so flipping out over Rescue Cat and Summoner Monk being to 3. Okay, I'm just playing. What Tribe Affecting Virus being at 1 is that we're really undermining the OCG and bringing Wavering Eyes to 3. That's going to be a very interesting situation to see how it works and the interactions that has with Pendulums, especially with Pinsword being at 3 and some other cards. Dragon Ravine to 3, Domain to 3. These cards I feel are a little irrelevant right now. Keep in mind I just said right now, but in the near future they might provide some sort of impact, which is why they're coming down on the list. Now, seeing with that being said, there is no errata to Tribe Affecting Virus. So now we can start talking about how the OCG list varies from the TCG. This is where people get things wrong. If you guys, in my opinion, if you hated how Kamani ran things and the Teleport Dark Arm format and the Perfect Circle Monarch format, if you hate how Kamani ran stuff like that, where decks will run rampant for about 6 months or whatever, and then they finally get hit and a new tier 1 deck will come along and you really kind of have to play that deck. The OCG isn't as balanced as people think. I mean, yes, you guys see all these creative, nice looking decks coming out, and yeah, they look really fun, but I mean, let's face it, the OCG or Japan itself is a lot smaller than the rest of the world. And with that being said, I'm not saying that OCG players are bad. They're actually very talented players, especially seeing that they've won quite a few world championships. What I am saying is that there are a lot of bad decks or concepts that get put on as a top whatever deck, and their tournaments sometimes are very small that get put on. So I don't think that's the correct way to say, oh, the OCG is cool because we see all these decks topping. I mean, I can go on to look at some lists right now, and I bet you some bullshit that would never top a day in its life in a real event would show, oh, second place, blah, blah, blah. It's just how the OCG is. I think that they're a little more casual. There are times where local shops would ban a tier 1 deck completely, saying you can't play this deck. So, I mean, the OCG, in my opinion, is a little, just a little more casual in that aspect, where people like to play certain decks just for fun. And if you guys are perfectly fine with that, you're fine with that. That's great. But here's the problem that looms inside of the OCG. Kamani does stuff like this in the OCG to completely ruin every deck or every thought that you had when the tier 1 deck comes out. And basically, it seems like it's forcing you to play either Spiral or Magic Bullet. And that's, in my opinion, how the OCG or how Kamani works for the OCG. So if you guys are, you know, okay with either A, playing in an environment where there's only like 6 people and you guys are all playing mediocre decks because the shop owner banned it, you know, then go be that. And if you guys are okay with 1 deck formats, or, you know, 1 or 2 deck formats, I'm not saying that we don't have that in the TCG, but then at the end of the format, everything gets hit, and stuff that like was pretty or wasn't as relevant as the other stuff, or didn't do much to anybody, or just, I guess we could be happy that poorly designed cards get hit over there. But you know, the OCG is for you. The difference between the OCG and the TCG is that the TCG tends to look at the OCG and then see how to cater to players. So for example, I think the best example, let me think. Actually, I can't even think of a really good example off the top of my head, but there are some extraordinarily good examples that I can't think of. What I can tell you is that if you pay close attention to the OCG, you can tell that they hit every single deck, period, every deck. So now you have to play the new stuff, and the TCG will look at that new stuff and determine what's going to be good. Sometimes we might get an exclusive archetype to try to counter that. Kamani has done a pretty horrible job, but I think it's a, you know, it's at least a good effort, or at least what I like to think that Kamani tries to do inside of the TCG. Another thing is that we don't have, you know, one-sided cards running around. Like, I can make a video about Maxi forever running around. I can make a video about Harvey's Feather Duster being, both of them being very cancerous to the game, but it's in the way that the OCG is structured, it's necessary because you have 1 deck formats running around and you don't want to bore your players into playing 1 deck format, so you give them very overly powered, busted, really busted cards to kind of balance it out, but it doesn't balance it out because other decks can play it too. This OCG list in terms mean necessarily nothing to the TCG, if you guys ask me, other than what to look out in the future. If you guys see Spirals doing something in particular with, you know, with a certain concept or strategy or a certain card, then you should definitely look at that. But other than that, I don't think that the OCG holds any weight to the TCG and that type of resemblance. What the TCG does is try to balance the Yu-Gi-Oh card game, something that we haven't had in a very long time, but at least in my opinion it attempts to, by not turning around and hitting decks that didn't do anything. Nobody save that grass is greener. Well, thank you guys so much for watching another segment of the Cali Effect. I hope you guys enjoyed my full breakdown on the OCG ban list and what this means for us for the TCG. If you guys would like to support my channel, you can always join the Patreon gang. I mean, come on, I only got 1 member. He's a cool guy, and we need more. We need more members to join. More importantly, if you guys would like to buy from me, TCGPlayer and eBay are some perfect ways. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy.